Today on NewsWatch, President Obama in Saudi Arabia. See why he is there and what he's hoping to do to mend fences amid growing concern about the country's ties to terrorism. Plus, floods sweep through the south, leaving parts of Houston underwater. We're looking to see how soon the city is expected to rebound. And a woman of faith will grace the $20 bill. Hear who is praising the move to put Harriet Tubman's face on U.S. currency. Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. New questions today about America's relationship with Saudi Arabia. That comes as allegations of possible Saudi connections to terrorism grow here at home. President Obama is in Saudi Arabia, visiting with Arab leaders and working to smooth things over. White House correspondent Jennifer Wishon explains.
When President Obama touched down on Saudi soil, King Salman wasn't there to greet him. Instead, he sent lower-ranking royals, a sign experts say of the tense relations between the U.S. and its key Middle Eastern ally.
It's always a pleasure to see you.
The president's visit comes amid new questions about the possible involvement of Saudi officials in the terrorist attacks on 9/11, and as 9/11 victims asked the president to declassify 28 pages from the 9/11 Commission report, pages thought to point fingers at Saudi Arabia. House Homeland Security Chairman Michael McCaul has read the classified 28 pages and been briefed by the person who wrote them. He believes they aren't as explosive as some might think.
We have to examine that relationship and how we deal with terrorist financing issues and how we need to work with the Saudis as an ally rather than as an enemy.
Meanwhile, Congress is considering a bipartisan bill that would prevent Saudi Arabia and any other country with alleged terrorist ties from claiming immunity in U.S. courts. That would allow the families of 9/11 victims to sue Saudi Arabia.
And the victims of terrorism in our country should be able to seek justice from people who do fund that terrorist attack.
Other members of Congress are treading lightly.
I think we need to review it to make sure that we're not making mistakes with our allies.
President Obama and critics of the bill fear it could open up the U.S. to lawsuits from people around the world.
Saudis were not complicit in terrorism. They have nothing to fear.
If the bill passes, Saudi leaders are threatening to sell up to $750 billion worth of U.S. government securities, a move that some fear could disrupt world markets, while other analysts doubt the Saudis either could or would do it because it could hurt their economy as much as the U.S. President Obama moves on to Europe now to meet with British and German leaders. White House officials say the president cleared the air with the Saudis, and he's relying on the U.S. relationship with them during his final months in office as he tries to deal with the exceedingly complicated Middle East that critics say has unraveled during his presidency. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News.
Israel's deputy chief of staff says the country is facing growing dangers on every side, from Iran to Islamic terrorist groups. Major General Yair Galon says groups like Hamas and Hezbollah are increasing their offensive capabilities.
We can say that our enemies reach a new level of capabilities, and the meaning of that is that future wars are going to be much harsher comparing to anything we experienced in the last 20 years.
The Major General also said that even though ISIS gets more attention, Iran and its ambition to dominate the Middle East poses an even greater threat to Israel and the region. It is another day with rain in the forecast for Houston. The city is already underwater after days of severe flooding. At least 8 people have died, all of them found inside or near vehicles in flooded areas. And new concerns coming in today about 2 of the city's dams. Caitlin Burke is on this story.
Severe flooding in Houston continues to cripple parts of the city. Many areas seeing rainfall amounts between 10 and 20 inches since Monday, and today more rain on the way.
How high is it going to get, you know? We don't really know, so. They said it was another 3 feet, but it looks like it's going up more than that.
Already more than 1,000 homes damaged, at least 2,300 water rescues performed, and dozens of roads transformed into lakes.
My faith just helps me to know that God's in control of everything, and I can deal with it because He has something better.
Officials are also trying to monitor the city's dams. They say the Addicks and Barker dams located in the central Houston area are at extremely high risk, already at about 80% capacity. In an interview with ABC, a spokesperson for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers explained that the extreme high risk rating does not mean the dams are in immediate danger or failing, but rather because of their close proximity to the population. If they did fail, the amount of additional flooding would be catastrophic. Meanwhile, forecasters finally giving some hope to Houston. After today, they say, a few days of sunshine. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
The House Selective Panel on Infant Lives continues to investigate Planned Parenthood's alleged practice of selling baby body parts. The committee revealed evidence STEM Express acted as a middleman on behalf of Planned Parenthood and explained how customers could click down on a drop box that lists organs and gestation periods. One congressman likened it to, quote, the Amazon of baby parts. Critics on the panel say the hearing is part of a political agenda to restrict women's health care. But others say that babies should not be bought and sold, and the companies involved must be held accountable. The death toll in Ecuador is on the rise after last week's massive earthquakes. At least 550 people have been killed, and strong aftershocks continue. As Chuck Holton reports, CBN and Operation Blessing are on the ground and making a difference, but there's much more work to be done.
These survivors of last week's quake have been waiting in line all day for a food truck to deliver supplies. As of 5 p.m., the truck had not arrived, and tempers were starting to flare.
We need a lot of things, especially food, meal, water. There's no water.
There's no water in the tap. How do we bathe or drink? What little they are giving out isn't nearly enough.
The scale of this disaster makes quick response very difficult. Many of those affected are in remote areas along the coast, now reachable only by air. These Ecuadorian Air Force helicopters are struggling to get enough aid to small villages near the epicenter of the quake. CBN accompanied this flight to the town of Hama.
Now we're going to wait for them to unload the helicopter, turn around and go right back where we came from.
Soldiers quickly unloaded the supplies, a drop in the bucket compared to the need. Many of these buildings in Puerto Viejo still standing are now uninhabitable and will have to be demolished. And rescue workers continue to race against the clock, looking for survivors amid the ruins. As if destroyed buildings and infrastructure, hundreds still trapped, and tens of thousands homeless weren't enough. A lack of fresh water is the latest tragedy in the unfolding crisis in Ecuador. With temperatures in the 90s during the day, dehydration is becoming a real issue. City dwellers like these in the city of Manta are flocking to distribution centers looking for food, clothing, and fresh water. Throughout the area, people are getting desperate, and Operation Blessing is stepping in to help. Pastor Paul Candela heads a large church in Puerto Viejo that's working together with Operation Blessing.
Things are pretty difficult right now because as the hours and days go by, things get more complicated. The rescue teams will soon stop looking for survivors and just move forward with the recovery of those who have died in the rubble.
Church members are volunteering to help OB assemble and distribute hundreds of care packages with food and water.
We see a future where there will be a lot of suffering because employees without work means business owners without businesses, which means people won't be able to pay their bills and they won't have a way to get by. Everything affects everything else, and this will lead to big social problems in the future.
The Operation Blessing volunteers are working to alleviate people's suffering and save lives by reaching areas outside the city.
Right now we are focused on serving the community, going to outlying places that have no food or water and giving out supplies.
And the situation is worst where thirsty people line the roads begging for water and getting more and more desperate with every car that passes by. Carmen Rivera's baby, John Paul, is only 3 weeks old. His mother is beside herself.
There is no milk or diapers for my baby. He can't nurse because I'm not making milk and his formula has run out. The stores are closed up because the buildings are all destroyed. We sent someone out to look for milk, but they couldn't find any.
It will likely be months before these residents can get water from their own taps again, and many here are afraid they won't be able to hold out that long. Operation Blessing will stay here as long as it takes, bringing water to the people who need it most. Chuck Holton, CBN News, Manta, Ecuador.
The House of Commons in Britain's parliament has declared ISIS atrocities in Syria and Iraq genocide. The motion passed Wednesday, and it states Christians, Yazidis, and other ethnic and religious minorities in Iraq are suffering genocide. It also recommends the International Criminal Court be given jurisdiction over those crimes. A recent poll found 63% of citizens in the UK support recognizing genocide. The House Foreign Affairs Committee has adopted a bill that better equips diplomats to fight international Christian persecution and anti-Semitism. The bill expands training on international religious freedom for all State Department diplomats and ensures religious freedom policies are integrated into U.S. foreign policy. It also creates a tier system to identify which countries are the most severe abusers of religious freedom. That bill is expected to be reviewed by the House of Representatives in the coming weeks. Our $20 bill is about to get a very important facelift. The Treasury Department has announced it will replace President Andrew Jackson's portrait with Harriet Tubman's. Tubman was an abolitionist and a woman of faith, and now she is being honored in this very unique way.
Not only did she lead many people out of slavery through the Underground Railroad, she worked for our Army, helping them as a spy.
Tubman will be the first African American on U.S. paper currency and the first woman depicted in 100 years. The Beckett Fund for Religious Liberty says the change recognizes Tubman's faith in God and dedication to leading hundreds of slaves to freedom. Coming up, an innocent man is sentenced to 271 years behind bars, and he was one of the lucky ones. An estimated 20,000 innocent Americans are sitting in jail convicted of crimes they did not commit. As Charlene Aaron reports, those shocking numbers have led some evangelical Christians to change their minds about capital punishment.
Marvin Anderson enjoys working as a volunteer firefighter in Hanover County, Virginia, a dream job of his since age 10. It's a dream that almost never came true. On July 17, 1982, a report came in that a black man had raped and brutally beaten a white woman. Police immediately named Anderson a suspect.
They asked me, do you know anything about a rape that had taken place over the weekend? And my response was nothing other than what I heard people in the community talking about.
Anderson had no criminal record. Police obtained a photo ID from his job. They showed the victim that color photo, along with 6 other black and white mugshots. She pointed out Anderson from both the photo spread and a lineup.
The officers stepped into the room, and everybody else that was in the lineup was escorted out. When he came back in, I looked at him. I said, she identified me. He said, yes, and I started crying.
During the trial, the victim maintained Anderson sexually assaulted, beat her, and left her for dead. Meanwhile, people in the community told police that another man, John Otis Lincoln, was responsible, and a bicycle that had been used during the attack was identified by the owner, who said Lincoln had stolen it about 30 minutes before the attack. Yet Anderson was found guilty and sentenced to 210 years in prison.
The entire room went dark. I couldn't see anyone.
In 1988, 6 years after Anderson went to prison, Lincoln confessed to the crime, but the original judge in the case refused to vacate Anderson's sentence. Anderson reached out to anyone he thought could help prove his innocence. In 1994, the Innocence Project took his case. The nonprofit legal group works to clear people wrongfully convicted. Attorney Vanessa Potkin says the system mishandled Anderson's case on several levels.
We were very troubled by the lineup and the suggestive identification procedure that led to her eyewitness identification in the case. And then aside from that, there was this very troubling evidence pointing to another person as the actual perpetrator in the crime.
According to the Innocence Project, eyewitness misidentification, false confessions, and government misconduct are the leading causes of wrongful convictions. DNA evidence made the difference in Anderson's case.
They got a profile that they were able to run in the state convicted offender database. And lo and behold, it turned out that the DNA was consistent with Otis Lincoln, who by then was in the database.
Since 1989, DNA technology has helped to exonerate more than 300 people in 37 states, a reason why some in the faith community have reconsidered their position on the death penalty. Last year, the National Association of Evangelicals reversed its long-standing support of the death penalty.
The development of DNA evidence has provided new ways for us to probe the guilt or innocence of those who are convicted or who are accused of crimes.
Speaking to Congress last year, Pope Francis called on the U.S. to abolish the death penalty. The group Conservatives Concerned About the Death Penalty agreed, saying in a statement, "The death penalty does not make society safer, and it can inflict additional harm on murder victims' families by prolonging the legal process. In light of these concerns and recent wrongful convictions and botched executions, more states should heed the Pope's call to end the death penalty." Potkin says DNA evidence helped free 18 innocent people facing execution. She questions their fate had that technology not been accessible in their cases.
Basically, 4% of people sentenced to death are actually innocent. So have all of those errors been corrected? I think, it would be erroneous for us to think so. The one thing that DNA testing has shown us is that, we have to have humility in this criminal justice system. We don't always get it right.
Marvin Anderson spent 15 years in prison and 4 years on parole. In 2002, he was fully exonerated and eventually received compensation from the state of Virginia. Today, he serves as chief of the Hanover Fire Department. He says spending most of his adult life in prison for a crime he didn't commit was painful, but that he's not bitter. He credits God for both the breakthrough in his case and the second chance at fulfilling his life's passion.
I talked to God and asked him to just take over my life, do what he wants to do with it. I've tried and I didn't succeed, so I'm putting my faith in you. And I think I'm doing pretty well today.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News, Hanover County, Virginia.
Up next, meet an American Idol and see how God has led him forward by faith. American Idol launched the careers of Kelly Clarkson, Carrie Underwood, and Jennifer Hudson. Even a failed audition on the show could lead to fame, but now that the show has reached its final season, the finalists are looking for their next big break. Amber Strong brings us the story of one contestant who knows exactly where he's going, and God is leading the way.
When you walk the streets here in Michigan, you can almost hear the echo of music legends past. Legends like Coltrane, Madonna, Bill Haley, and who can forget the pioneers here at Hitsville, USA.
There's a new voice coming out of Michigan, and it belongs to Manny Torres. He snagged the final ticket on the final season of American Idol. Some call it fate, but the Foot native calls it faith.
It's so cool just to see where God's taken me from, the start to now.
After wooing the judges with his acoustic rendition of Maroon 5's This Love, Torres excelled with his infectious energy and dynamic smile and quickly became a fan favorite. When we caught up with him, he was visiting his childhood church, El Shaddai Assembly of God in Flint. He recalls memories of growing up as a preacher's kid.
With the car, I'd be like doing donuts in the parking lot. My dad's like, "Man, they haven't even plowed yet. What are you doing?" I'm like, "Man, that's exactly when you gotta do it."
Torres says it was here that his love of music began.
I came here and I would sing every Sunday. We knew that, I loved to sing and we knew that I was good at it and things like that. But looking back, I mean, this is truly where I developed myself in my talent.
Pastor Abe Garcia says even as a kid, there was something different about Torres.
And as a young kid, he had an amazing talent, and he loved God. So it's been a joy to see that, and then to see him now on a worldwide stage, you know, showing his God-given talents and honoring God. It's awesome to see that.
Torres says the Idol platform opened the door for him to spread a little hope in a town that could sure use it.
In light of all what's happening, you know, it's good just to bring positivity and good vibes and good energy, you know. A lot of the times people get so caught up in the negativity or in the politics or what this is going on and that's going on. And at the end of the day, it's so hard to really kind of pinpoint why things happen. But then again, the key is just focusing on the positive, you know, just enjoy the fellowship and what God has brought through this, you know, and what God's doing through this.
So what's on the horizon for Torres? An album, maybe even a tour. No matter where the road takes him, Torres says his faith will always be a part of the journey.
The Hollywood scene can be a little, you know, crazy. It can be, you know, it's a heck of a world out there. But what I like to remind some people is that there's mission fields for everyone.
For now, you can find him where it all began, in the pulpit, leading worship and thankful for his shot on American Idol.
Regardless of how far I made it or how far I didn't make it, I mean, I was given a platform to share my gift with millions of people worldwide, you know. I mean, I've had tweets and Facebooks and Instagram coming from all over the world, you know, which is huge. And like, now my network and my mission field has opened up, I mean, like crazy.
A mission field he says he'll use to bring that same positive message to the people of Flint and around the world. Amber Strong for CBN News.
It's Thursday, and I hope you'll make it a thankful one and join me in this prayer of gratitude. Lord, I am humbled by your gift of grace. I wake each day to a fresh cup of it, and it is sufficient for all that I face. Thank you for your grace. And in the words of the song, it is a grace that repairs, a grace that restores visions and dreams. It's a grace that releases miracles, and it covers. Thank you, Lord, for your grace. With that word, be grateful today and make this a thankful Thursday. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. We'd love to hear what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do it on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.